Today we're going to learn how to tell the real journalists from the fake ones. Hello everyone, this is Keith. Welcome to the Ghetto Sapien channel, your home of inner city intelligence. So we are going to use the politicians to help us point out who the real journalists, the real reporters from the fake ones. Let's start.
Transform the economy, earn historic legislative victories and midterm results, but the job isn't finished. I mean, it is finished for Tucker Carlson. What are you wooing about like that? Like you think that's not reasonable?
The top Democrat now threatening journalist Matt Taibbi with jail time, claiming he contradicted his Twitter files congressional testimony ahead of this interview.
Court documents released this week show the Obama administration secretly monitored a Washington journalist. In seeking a search warrant, the FBI called James Rosen a criminal co-conspirator, even though he isn't charged with any crime. Jan Crawford is at the Justice Department. Jan, good morning.
Well, good morning, Nora. Good morning, Charlie. These revelations have really just set off a firestorm of criticism from the left and the right. For the first time ever, a presidential administration is treating news reporting like a crime and a reporter like a criminal suspect.
Thank you, politicians, for pointing out who's the real journalists from the ones who you really like, who I don't think are real journalists. Look, politicians, if they hate your guts as a journalist, I think you're doing a good job. I remember when Lindsey Graham stopped showing up on Tucker's show. That showed me he was doing the right thing, because Lindsey Graham should be afraid of Tucker. But Lindsey Graham shouldn't have any other place to go to feel safe that he could spew his garbage. And that goes for Biden and Obama and everyone else. The pressure to be a safe haven to help just propagate their narrative and their garbage. They should be questioned. They should be challenged. It's not happening nowadays because the adversarial relationship between politicians and journalists is gone. It used to be there. It used to be that journalists were skeptical of politicians and people in power, but not anymore because they're all one and the same now. It's gotten so bad that you can see on certain news channels, there are former FBI, former CIA spooks that now work in the newsroom. They're trusted analysts for a lot of the mainstream media, which is insane. Just a few years ago, they would never allow someone like James Clapper or John Brennan or Andrew McCabe, former FBI and CIA spooks, in any journalist and establishment, because those are the guys you're supposed to be reporting on. But nowadays you got politicians, they're marrying into they're marrying journalists, they're marrying executives at news agencies. It's hard to tell them apart. It's hard to pull them apart, I guess, since they're getting married and whatnot. But that should not be the case. And again, it used to not be that way. But see, people have lost their trust in the media. It's way down. Gallup poll showing from 1973 to 2023, it's gone from 51% trust in the media, which I thought would have been higher. It's down to 16% now, which I thought would have been lower, considering all the crap we've seen. I mean, look at how they treat Julian Assange. I mean, he's aging like a mayfly. He looks terrible. And I used to not really think he was a reporter or a journalist until I did some research and found out a little more about him. Yeah, he's pretty much a reporter or a journalist, but he's hated. He's hated by the government because he embarrassed Hillary Clinton. I mean, he embarrassed George Bush too, but it wasn't until he crossed Hillary Clinton and she kind of blames him for her loss of against Donald Trump. Wasn't her horrible personality? No. It was all Julian Assange's fault. So he's catching hell because of it. It used to be, again, that journalists and politicians came from two completely different classes of people. The politicians always came from, for the most part, powerful families. They were lawyers, they were business owners. Those are the people that traditionally went into politics. The people who used to go into journalism, on the other hand, they were cub reporters, they worked the press, the printing press, literally. They were apprentices who may have finished high school, but definitely not college. There were no journalism degrees up until the late 1920s when Columbia University offered a degree in journalism. And that opened the door for politicians and journalists to be hanging out in the same groups because they went to the same bars, since they went to the same colleges, they got to know each other, and the incestuous relationship began from there. But before then, journalism was just a working class Joe who had a lot of healthy skepticism for powerful politicians. And the politicians didn't like them. But like I said, that's all gone now. They're all, drinking the same Kool-Aid and pushing the same narrative. They're protecting each other. We really don't have real journalism, at least in the mainstream. But I think people like Glenn Greenwald, Tucker Carlson, Dave Rubin, there are many others, Tim Pool, people like that are beginning. They've gone into independent media, much harder to control thousands of different independent journalists than it is to control a couple at the top, ABC, CBS, and NBC. So it's going to be a lot harder for the politicians to push their narrative through many different outlets. In fact, it's not going to happen. So I think it's going away. I think the stranglehold that most of these politicians and have on state-run media, that's dwindling. That's why I think it's a good thing Tucker Carlson was released from Fox News, because his only choice now, he's going to take his 7 million viewers. He's going to move over to the Joe Rogans and other independent media giants. Russell Brand is another one. And it's just going to grow independent media. And I think mainstream media is dying off like a dinosaur. But we'll see. I think I'm right, though. Let me know what you think. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.